So, discipline and obedience are often misunderstood. But the scripture shows us something very different, that discipline isn't about restriction, it's about formation. And now the modern behavioral science confirms this. What the Bible has taught us long before neuroscience even existed, that our habits shape our identity, our neural pathways, and ultimately our destiny. I'm Christopher Gabriel. This is Life Science Performance, and this is the next video in a series called The Science of Faith. Today, we're exploring how behavioral science and biblical discipline can mirror each other, revealing a design for transformation that's built on repetition, attention, and obedience. So, behavior is not random. Every action you repeat strengthens these neural pathways that produce it. This is the foundation of habit formation, what neuroscience calls long-term potentiation. The scripture describes this very same reality. Proverbs 133 says, "Whoever listens to instruction will dwell in security." It's training, it's repetition, it's formation. It's important that we start to recognize that our behaviors, what we repeat, what we reinforce, really forms who we are and the behaviors associated with it. It's discipline at the biological level. It's your brain adapting to patterns that you choose. And so every act of obedience reinforces clarity. Every act of self-control strengthens the prefrontal cortex, quieting impulsive behavior from the limbic system. Modern psychology reveals something profound. Behavior shapes identity. More so than identity shapes behavior. So we don't act according to who we are, we become who we repeatedly act as. This is something scripture has said a long, long time ago. Matthew 12:33 says, "A tree is known by its fruit." Fruit is the outcome of patterns. Obedience produces this fruit because obedience shapes identity. Science calls this identity-based habit formation. Faith calls it sanctification. And so small acts can have these very large transformative outcomes. Behavioral science shows that small, consistent behaviors create the largest long-term change because they compound through neuroplasticity, the forming of new neural connections, which matches these biblical patterns exactly. Luke 16:10 says, "He who is faithful with little will be faithful with much." Faithfulness with the small, whether it's prayer, focus, gratitude, or discipline, alters neural pathways, emotional regulation, and behavioral outcomes. So transformation doesn't come from one dramatic moment. It comes from thousands of small alignments repeated over time. And so obedience really can lead us towards peace. In the scripture, obedience is often discussed spiritually or morally, but biology adds another layer. Obedience creates predictability, and predictability creates safety inside our nervous system. When your behaviors align with your values, your mind and body stop competing and you enter into what's called coherence. Jesus describes this in Matthew 11:30 by saying, "My yoke is easy and my burden is light." Alignment feels light, while on the other hand, disorder feels heavy, and your nervous system reflects that immediately. In neuroscience terms, obedience reduces cognitive dissonance. It lowers stress hormones and increases parasympathetic activity, rest, digest, calm. And so we have to be stewards of ourselves, stewards of our own behavior. And stewardship in scripture isn't just about resources or finances, which it is also about. It's about what we do repeatedly. Behavioral science confirms that what we steward, our sleep, nutrition, thought patterns, prayer, movement, creates downstream effects in emotional stability and long-term health. Colossians 3:23 says, "Whatever you do, work at it with all your heart, as if you're working for the Lord." So when you steward your behaviors, you're also stewarding your biology. And when you steward your biology, you steward the life God entrusted to you. This is the integrated design of human flourishing. So cool. And so, to kind of summarize things, behavioral science and scripture speak the same truth. Discipline shapes identity, obedience trains the nervous system, alignment produces peace, and consistency builds transformation that can last. In the next episode of The Science of Faith, we'll be exploring the science of relationships and marriage, how scripture's design for unity mirrors the neuroscience, attachment theory, and the biology of connection. I'm Christopher Gabriel. This is Life Science Performance, and this has been the next episode in The Science of Faith.